Hey everyone, it's Wolfgang. I want to talk about why consumers are complaining. The evidence, May 2025 retail sales dropped the most all year. So we're halfway through the year almost, and May retail sales dropped significantly. So people obviously are not happy. When people are concerned, they stop spending. And the question is why? Because there are some reasons that consumers should be content right now. For example, gas prices are the lowest in 3 years. They're 37% lower than they were in 2022. Employment, the job market is slowly improving because of the reversal of mass migration. An example of that, an Omaha packing plant lost 75 workers. They put out want ads, and U.S., American job seekers applied for those jobs. So all those jobs opened up. That's happening all over the country. Large retailers like Home Depot and Amazon are not raising prices. There are reasons that consumers should be content. They're obviously not, or we wouldn't have had this huge drop in retail sales. Another thing that they should be content with is inflation is low. As recently as 2022, inflation was 9.2% per year. Really high. It's down around 2.1% now. So it's really fallen. Inflation is low. Large retailers not passing on prices due to tariffs. The employment scene is improving and gas prices are low. And yet we have this huge drop in May retail sales. That's the second month in a row retail sales have dropped. So what have consumers stopped spending on? Autos and auto parts, eating out, restaurants. And if you think about it, one of the sticky things that usually holds up pretty well in a downturn is eating out, because it's a really low cost, it's a low cost way to have a break from the routine compared to other ways to, indulge yourself. Restaurants are usually a pretty affordable option, and yet restaurant spending is down. Most discretionary spending is down. What is discretionary spending? It's the sort of spending that you don't need. Some things you need. You need gas for your car. You need food. You need to pay the electric bill. Discretionary spending are things that you don't need. They're wants, right? So discretionary spending is down. Building materials, consumers have stopped spending on those. The reason, the remodeling scene across the U.S. is depressed significantly because of the housing market is down. So here are some of the numbers. 3 out of 5 of consumers, we're trying to figure out, why are consumers complaining? Why are they unhappy? We've got several reasons they should be content, and they're not. 3 out of 5 consumers think a recession is imminent. It's coming soon. There's been a record drop in retail sales in May, and that's the second month in a row, like I said. 37% of consumers have significantly cut spending. 1 out of 3 people have cut spending significantly. Some of the affected groups in our population, Gen Z, and older people and lower income people, are most affected by or showing the most evidence of not spending. So there are a lot of reasons to be content, and yet people are not spending. Retail sales have fallen for the last 2 months. And if you think about it, the thing that really surprises me is the inflation number. Everybody was really concerned about inflation, and now that inflation is down back to normal almost, people are still concerned. So the recession fear is present. People think that there's a recession. When a recession is expected, here's how people's behavior changes. Instead of spending, they start saving, right? So if you think a recession's coming, that, for example, that might affect your job, then you're not going to spend, you're going to save. And so when you're saving and not spending, this is what happens. May retail sales drops the lowest in half a year. So what changes could come about? Or what changes are needed to fix this? First, this is the most important thing: lower interest rates. Here's why. When interest rates are lower, or if they were lower, and the housing market recovered, because right now the housing market's dead. It's basically dead. Mortgage rates are too high. They're around 7%. Mortgage rates are just, people can't qualify for home loans. And so if interest rates were lower and the housing market revived, then people would start remodeling again. They'd start buying carpeting, tile, luxury vinyl planks. They'd start buying appliances, furniture, lighting, window coverings like curtains. They'd spend on landscaping. None of that's happening right now because the interest rates are too high. A mortgage of 7%, that cuts away too many people out of the housing market. And renters, if you're renting, you're not buying new carpet, you're not buying new tile, you're not buying appliances, you're not spending on landscaping, and so on, right? So lower interest rates would solve a lot of problems. All those things that are not being spent on would create jobs. So that would help. That's the most important change that's needed. Another thing that's needed, more hiring. So this is actually being fixed because as mass migration is being reversed, that will open up a lot of jobs. It's already starting to. More hiring, that will happen incrementally, kind of slowly. Another biggie is lower insurance costs. We all know that car insurance has gotten ridiculous. Car insurance is a big hit. You have to have it. It's a need, so you have to spend on it. Car insurance, renter's insurance, homeowner's insurance, business insurance. It feels like we're being fleeced, and we probably are. We probably are being fleeced by the insurance companies. If you check, for example, Berkshire Hathaway, their insurance business has become highly profitable recently because we're being fleeced. That's my opinion. Lower insurance costs would help. It would put more money in consumers' pockets. Right now, they're spending it on insurance. And also, this is a big one. Clarity about the threat of artificial intelligence is making people hesitant. When people are hesitant about their economic situation, what do? They start saving instead of spending. And so we end up with a second month in a row of a huge drop in retail sales. People are concerned about artificial intelligence, so I couldn't fit everything on the board. So as artificial intelligence has risen, it is affecting consumer confidence. For example, the mainstream media is constantly reporting on job losses and careers affected by artificial intelligence. Just today, the Wall Street Journal had an article. Amazon CEO says artificial intelligence will lead to a smaller workforce at the company. And we all know how much, Amazon has millions of employees, right? It's a huge employer. So there's the mainstream media creating anxiety in the workforce. Amazon CEO says AI will lead to a smaller workforce at the company. So something needs to be done about that, some clarity about the impacts of artificial intelligence. One of the things that artificial intelligence has done, which is hurting consumers, is it's made it easier for companies to use dynamic pricing. Dynamic pricing is a way for systems to detect when an item is being purchased a lot more than normal and then incrementally raise the price. And when consumers notice that, and you can notice it, there's certain things you'll notice online if you start looking, especially if you're shopping for something. You'll shop for something, you'll look at like 5 different websites, you'll go back to the first or second one, and you'll notice all of a sudden the price went up. They're actually tracking you, trying to encourage you to buy by using this dynamic pricing. Dynamic pricing kills sales. When customers think they're being taken advantage of, as an example, ticket scalping is analogous to this situation. If you went to a concert with a popular performer and the ticket price was $50, right? But scalpers were charging $1,000 because the performer is really hot at that particular time. You say to yourself, okay, the ticket price is $50, I'm paying $1,000. You feel like you're being ripped off, and you are, right? So that's dynamic pricing. That's paying attention to what the consumer is doing and then taking advantage of them when they're most vulnerable, when they either want something or they need something. It's the same thing like in a natural disaster when stores suddenly raise the price on things like fresh water and food and stuff, and then they get into trouble with the Attorney General for taking advantage of the natural disaster. But it's the same thing. It's dynamic pricing. And so, consumers have noticed that artificial intelligence is enabling that, is making it easier for companies to use that. And another issue with artificial intelligence is when customer service no longer has any humans involved. When you're forced to either use a chatbot or use an AI system for customer service. So to compare this, if you think about all the problems that consumers reported when customer service call centers went offshore, right? There was all that hoopla from consumers. I don't want to talk to somebody in a foreign country. I can't understand them. The experience is not good. It's gotten much worse with AI. It's a very mixed picture with how successful AI is handling customer service. Right now, the results are not fantastic. So when customers run into a problem with something they have purchased and they are prevented from talking to a human to resolve it, that makes them much less likely to buy anything from that particular company. So it hurts sales. So this is another problem with AI right now, is being forced to use an AI interface. The company does not want to hire a real human like they used to. So I think that's going to be resolved over time. I think business people are going to realize we've got to have real people. It's the same thing that happened with offshore call centers. That didn't work out very well either. It became a selling point for a company to say our call centers are based in the U.S. That became a good selling point, a marketing point that attracted people. The same thing's going to happen with this, with customer service being done by AI. So what can be done to resolve some of this issue with artificial intelligence? Because it's affecting spending. People are concerned about their jobs being taken by AI. There's a lot of news about that. The mainstream media reports it. And here are a couple of things that might be done. If employers would change their messaging from "we're laying off people because AI will replace them" to something like "we're upskilling our staff so they can utilize AI." In other words, tell the truth. For companies to not mention the fact that they're training all their staff about the benefits of AI and how to use it, because that is happening, right? Companies are training staff to make them more productive, to use AI more effectively. And so if that was the messaging, instead of what came out in the Wall Street Journal today, Amazon says AI will lead to a smaller workforce. Change that messaging to companies are actively helping people upskill to learn how to be proficient with artificial intelligence. That would help this problem. It would add some clarity to the concern people have about AI. When people are concerned about their jobs being replaced by AI, they stop spending, they start saving, and we end up with a big drop in retail sales 2 months in a row. And so that's kind of where things are. Employees who feel replaceable by artificial intelligence are not helping the U.S. economy right now. So there is an improvement in the employment scene because the mass migration is being reversed. A lot of the jobs will be taken by U.S. Residents. But the messaging about artificial intelligence needs to be looked at, needs to be addressed. And this is the big one, lower interest rates. If they lowered interest rates to help out the housing market, that would improve a lot of different industries, furniture makers, landscapers, remodeling companies, flooring companies, and so on. So this is the big one. If they could lower interest rates, that would help, and we would stop having this kind of nonsense. So if you have any questions about this, please post in the comments. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. And I really want to thank everyone for watching, and have a great day.